Oh man, it's snowing outside here. Where's everybody? It's raining so freaking hard.
Hey, Kevin.
Oh, hey. Dan. Whoa, I didn't even recognize you. What's going on, man?
Oh, yeah, I've got this nice zombie get-up for the show, man.
I know. You went all out, huh?
Yeah, man. Looking forward to this fucking banger, man. We're gonna have a raging concert upstairs.
Ooh.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going?
Bearclaw! What's going on? Oh man, those are some sweet leather pants.
Yeah, they are shaking like crazy, though. This is a poor choice of clothing.
Bro, you look like the Tin Man.
I was gonna say, man, you're walking like Frankenstein. What the heck?
Poor choices were made. Leather pants. I had to squeeze myself into these, but boy, don't they look good.
I do like your eyeliner.
It's great.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, there he is.
Sorry, I got lost.
Yeah, sounds about right. What's going on? You excited for the show?
Yeah, I guess.
This band's pretty good, right?
No, they're pretty good, man. I'm tired of the rain.
You know, it can't rain all the right? Well, let's go into the show, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're playing up at the top level of terror, right above the Dungeon of Doom. Are you ready?
Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
You don't know what death is.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Welcome to the madness.
We are the Mouths of Madness, your new favorite podcast for horror movie reviews. We're coming to you live tonight from the Dungeon of Doom, right after the concert that was above us at the top level of terror. This is our episode 13 on the 1994 The Crow. My name is Kevin, and let me introduce you to the other members of Madness. First, we have Dan. Dan, what's going on?
Oh, not much, Kevin, man. I am excited to be here to discuss today The Crow. It's going to be interesting.
I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's opinions. Next, we have the mayor of Halloween Town. It's Bearclaw. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. Just been watching The Crow, preparing for this. Excited to discuss this movie. Excited to dig deeper and try and figure out some of the mysteries of The Crow. So I'm excited to do that today.
Oh, we're excited to hear from you, Bearclaw. And finally, we have the youngest member of Madness, my son Logan. Logan, are you excited to discuss The Crow?
Yeah, put on all my makeup. I'm ready. I'm ready to stand out in the pouring rain for this one. No, that's always a crux in my world, unfortunately, and I'm used to standing in the pouring rain.
Dang,
Yeah.
Sounds tough.
Yeah.
it's heavy, man.
Yeah.
It's dark.
Just a cross I have to bear, unfortunately.
Well, victims, aren't we all?
Yep.
Now, I know that there are a lot of other great horror movie podcasts out there, but what separates us from the other ones is that we're going to be giving you the older versus younger generation perspective. Myself, Dan, and Bearclaw, we were all born in the 1980s, while my son Logan was born in the 2000s. So this is the clash of the generations. Before we get into the episode, I want to plug some of our stuff and where to find us. Please go follow us on Instagram at mouths.of.madness. We also have a great YouTube channel, and we just did an episode that was a special episode, which was a crossover between Straight Jacket Talk and the Mouths of Madness, where we review Late Night with the Devil. It's a must watch, so go check that out at Mouths of Madness. And finally, we have our email address. Please write to Bearclaw, especially after this episode.
Yeah, especially after this episode. I'm going to need to hear
hear
some refutation of my objectively correct opinions and points.
Please, that's Bearclaw, and that's at the padded room at outlook.com. Now, for our content consumed this episode, we're going to let you know what we've been up to, what we've been watching, what we've been reading, what we've been listening to, or gaming. Now, actually, right for this episode, I just finished The Crow by James O'Barr, which is the graphic novel that the movie was based off of. So I'm super excited. I kind of was able to read that and then rewatch The Crow in conjunction with it. So it was definitely one of those cool things that worked out pretty good.
Use another big word there. Conjunction.
Conjunction junction, right?
What's your function?
That's got some PTSD for me, honestly.
But I definitely recommend, especially if you're a fan of the movie, go pick up the graphic novel, and it's really worth it. I actually read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. It was that good. The artwork is amazing, and it's overall really good.
Is that your first comic book in like 40 years?
It's been a while. I am a big Calvin and Hobbes fan, so this was a different step.
You read
Like
Calvin
this
and
one
Hobbes.
may be totally different.
Yes, it was.
Calvin got really depressed.
Speaking of graphic novels and comic books, I do want to shout out one of our friends on Instagram, horror_hockey_forever, who after we did I believe it was our episode 11 on Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, we had asked in that episode if anyone had a link to the comic book that was done, the Before the Mask, and he was kind enough to send me a link through our Instagram page, and I actually just picked it up. So thank you so much. I'm going to get right into that book, this week. I'm really excited for it. So that's what I've got this week. How about you, Dan?
For my content consumed, I caught this movie called The Coffee Table. It's a Spanish movie. It's about this couple who just had a baby, and without giving away any details, the plot involves them buying a coffee table and how this particular coffee table seems to cause so much chaos and horror in their lives in ways that are very grounded in reality. It's a very interesting movie.
Would you recommend it?
I'd recommend it if you are not sensitive to specific themes. There's some not sexual themes, but some really graphic, violent things that happen. If you're very sensitive to that, I wouldn't.
I'm sensitive to everything, so that might not be the movie for me.
Yeah. Also, if you don't like reading subtitles, that's not your thing either.
Well, I've watched anime, so I think I'm used to that.
That's cool. I've heard really good things about that movie. It's kind of getting talked about a little bit in the horror community.
Yeah,
out
it's going around. That's actually what made me decide to go watch it.
Nice.
Plus the title, it's like
Yeah.
fucking coffee table.
Right.
All right,
You got me. IKEA.
I'm in. Let's go.
Oh man.
Somebody's got to talk about how IKEA's haunted.
Maybe they should have a movie where somebody gets trapped in an IKEA.
It's happened to us.
Ooh. Yeah, get trapped in IKEA with your two kids who don't want to be there.
Whoa.
That's pretty
Yeah,
One
scary.
that's
kid-
more terrifying.
Whoa.
man.
One kid who doesn't want to be there and one that was lied to. Told me it was an adventure. It ain't Disney World, kids.
It was an
It
adventure.
is an adventure. Every time you go to IKEA is an adventure.
Dang. All right. Well, how about you, Bearclaw?
I'm a big George Miller fan. I've been really excited about the new movie coming out, Furiosa. So I've actually been going through and rewatching all of the Mad Max films.
Nice.
And, number 2, The Road Warrior, is by and far my favorite. But I've just been going through those right now and rewatching those and just having a great time. I love everything Mad Max. Even the new Mad Max movie that's come out is fantastic. I can't wait to watch Furiosa. And George Miller was behind that as well. So it's a good time to be a Mad Max fan right now. So I'm pretty excited about that. But that's what I've been watching. What have you been up to, Logan?
Oh, man. You were talking about that. I'm like, man, I wanted to go see that after the last teaser that just came out. I'm like, man, Chris Hemsworth and Anna Taylor-Joy,
know.
I'm in. For me, I've been going watching a lot of movies lately. I'm trying to get back into my movie watching time. I did watch the new Kingdom of the Planet of Apes movie, and that was a really good time. Not like, the movie I go to see every time, but like it was still definitely a good watch, like different than I've usually gone to, like movies. I'm more of a superhero action movie kind of guy, but that was kind of what it was. As for like actual things I've consumed though, I have been like reading, obviously, my book knowledge is gaining. I'm reading a Brad Thor novel right now, which is pretty good, so...
What's it called?
Lions of Lustrien. I can't pronounce it right, but it's really good. It's like one of his first ones he's done. It's really good.
Well, now, without any further ado, grab a beer, pull up a chair, hold on to your straitjacket tight, and let's dive into the madness. We watched The Crow from 1994. This is the 30th anniversary, and I believe it was released in May of 94. It was directed by Alex Proyas with the screenplay by David J. Show and John Shirley. It is based on the graphic novel The Crow by James O'Barr. If you're unfamiliar with the graphic novel by James O'Barr, he actually wrote the graphic novel as a way for him to deal with his emotions after the death of his wife by a drunk driver. So it has a lot of his own personal, real life feelings and actually, you know, things he was going through in his
That's
mind.
really
So,
it's really cool that, you know, even though, you know, tragic stuff has happened to him, he still managed to make like something out of it.
Yeah, I can funnel it into something productive.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you can kind of see throughout the graphic novel all the emotions he was going through as Eric Draven and the character
No,
in
that's
which
really
they go through in the book.
That's realism, you know? We don't really see a lot of that with our authors, but most of them, you know, I like to see something that can be portrayed by just an average guy.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of cool that this very fantasy-like story was based in some sort of realism, which it was, and that's cool. The Crow starred Brandon Lee, son of Bruce Lee. Now, this, for all intents and purposes, was the movie that was gonna put him on the map and kind of force him out of the shadow of his father. You know, unfortunately, this movie did immortalize him forever, just in a horrible way. He was killed on set during filming, and The Crow, this movie, is considered one of the most cursed films of all time. They had actually a bunch of issues. I'll go through some of those real quick for you, because I think it is kind of cool to to understand what this movie. Well, I think when you see this movie now for what it is and what it was up against, like actually being released to the world, it's pretty crazy. It is a cool thing that we actually ended up getting to see this movie all together.
Yeah.
Originally, this movie is supposed to take place in Detroit, Michigan, but for budget constraints and trying to save a little bit of money, they actually shot this in North Carolina and not in Detroit.
See, the city didn't read as Detroit to me. I don't know.
I
Yeah.
read as Sin City.
What did the city read to you as?
It read to
Gotham.
me as kind of like New York City, urban, Gotham, kind of wastes. I don't know, kind of like
1970s New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did have very noir kind of aspects
Yeah.
to it, and they did that on purpose.
I guess the cars Detroit makes a little bit more sense now when I think about like T-Bird's car there.
Yeah. And actually, every time I've watched the movie, I've never thought like this is Detroit.
Yeah.
I never really
Right.
wanted to think it was Detroit because I'm like, oh, this is its own city.
Yes.
I thought it was its
Yeah.
own like fictional.
Yeah, I
Fictitious.
thought they had like a name for it.
Fictitious.
Nope.
Yeah, because like you said with Gotham, like it feels like this is the city of Gotham to
Yeah.
the Crow, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously not Gotham City, but
He doesn't have a signal. Yeah.
so they did film this in North Carolina to save on costs. Unfortunately, there was a hurricane that happened during production of this movie.
Wow.
Wow.
And
Jesus.
it ended up destroying all their sets.
Jeez.
So that was one of the big things that happened.
They should just surf it.
And the big thing that became from that incident was that this pushed filming back a lot and actually made everything way more rushed. And they had to get back on schedule if they could, which was a huge issue. A carpenter got electrocuted
Oh no.
before filming. He got electrocuted pretty badly. So that was a big thing that had happened. There was also a disgruntled employee who drove his car through some set work and destroyed props that were used in the movie.
Is there any theory about was there a curse placed on the movie? Is there any Did they break any rules that they
timing?
shouldn't have?
Well, so there's a ton of like theories and things like that. I believe there was an article published around that time that said drug use was pretty rampant.
Oh, Jesus.
With production. Cocaine was actually not even involved in on set and in the picture, but behind the scenes as well. Now, no one can kind of verify that actually
That's just
happened.
a bunch of hogwash.
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of rumors and things like that. But what this all kind of led to was this film being delayed and pushed back and corners being cut. And eventually those corners being cut might have led to the death of Brandon Lee.
Yeah, take me through how that happened.
Yeah, is this like a Rust situation?
Yeah.
So actually, there are some similarities to the Rust incident, but this is kind of the first major one. Now, he was shot by mistake during the opening scenes in the movie where he enters their apartment. Shelley is being assaulted by all the gang members. Fun Boy, the actor, Michael Massey, ended up shooting the gun that he was supposed to at Brandon Lee. It wasn't a real bullet. So this is the best way to explain it. There is a great documentary on Shudder right now. It's called The Cursed Films, I believe. It's episode 4, and they explain this the best I've seen explained. So what ended up happening was 2 weeks before this shot, they wanted a close-up of the gun. So what they did was they used what's called a dummy cartridge. I'm going to explain this best to my knowledge. Basically, the dummy cartridge has no powder or no primer in it. What ended up happening was they were trying to cut corners pretty quickly, and they actually had a primer still in this dummy cartridge. So when they fired the gun for the close-up shots, the actual tip of the bullet ended up getting lodged in the barrel. Now they got their shots, whatever. Now, 2 weeks later, they're gonna load in what is called a blank round. The blank round has powder and primer, but no bullet. So what ended up happening was the firearms specialist was sent home early because they were trying to cut corners, save time, save money. The prop assistant was there for the shot, but was not aware of you have to inspect the gun and look down the actual barrel to make sure there's nothing obstructing. And if they had just taken that simple step, they would have saw that bullet from that dummy cartridge was lodged in the barrel.
That's gotta be so frustrating to know that, had just a couple safety measures been followed.
That's it. Yeah. And then what ended up happening is when Michael Massey pulled the trigger, he actually shot Brandon with that bullet that came out that was lodged. So there was enough force from that blank round that fired that bullet into Brandon. And then he was rushed to the hospital, and then he died like 6 hours later, they said, in surgery.
Jeez.
But speaking of rumors, there are very big conspiracy theorists on Brandon Lee being shot and killed in this movie. One of the biggest rumors is that his father, Bruce Lee, was also killed by this Chinese mafia called the Triad. Now, obviously, they've tried to prove, I believe they've just proved that Bruce Lee died of over-consuming water.
Yep.
I don't know if that's true.
That's true. Well, it's true that can happen.
Well, at this time, though, there was all these rumors that Bruce Lee had been, assassinated by this group. They were trying to tie that to Brandon Lee as well, that this mafia also did this act as well. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but listen to what's kind of awkward about this, right? Bruce Lee's final movie, which was called Game of Death.
Oh, that was a good one.
Now, in that movie, he actually didn't finish the filming himself because he died during this movie. But
one would assume.
But, I mean, they ended up releasing it and whatever, kind of like The Crow, which is kind of eerie. But in that movie, the character is shot by a prop gun, but
Fakes death.
But they switched the bullets, and he was shot with a real bullet. So it's like Brandon Lee died the way his father's character in his father's last movie he died in that movie.
Yeah, but like, to disprove your theory, no. Because I feel like the thing is, with that stuff, if it did actually happen, like, you know, that's kind of like the JFK theories. Like, JFK didn't get killed, you know? Mm-hmm. He was saved. Okay, then who the hell cares? Because obviously, like, they're not doing anything right now. So, like, it's not that big of a deal. You know, something like Brandon Lee being killed by that prop gun, like, what does that do? That just completely makes that movie look like shit. And now he's just somewhere in the Maldives, just hiding out somewhere.
Who, Brandon Lee?
Yeah, why not?
No, he didn't fake his death. He really died.
This is a Tupac situation.
The conspiracy is that the triads killed him as a way of like way of sending
he's still
a message.
alive.
Dang, going with
still
all
alive,
Tupac, man.
He's with Tupac.
He's with Tupac.
And Elvis.
Like I said,
Bigfoot.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories. I just think
Elvis
that
would
was
be
pretty
dead.
coincidental in a way.
I mean, how many times have the triad fucked up Jennifer Jason Leigh's assassination?
Who's Jennifer Jason Leigh?
She's the sister of Brandon Lee and the daughter of Bruce Lee. She's also an actress.
Oh, I didn't know she was his actual
Man, that
sister.
triad got Bruce Lee down like these people in The Crow.
I didn't know that. Holy cow.
Christ almighty. Okay, we've gone from the Crow to the triad.
Well, what I found funny too is James O'Barr originally did not want Brandon Lee to be Eric Draven.
Uh-huh.
He actually pictured Johnny Depp as Eric Draven.
I could see that.
I could see it, yeah.
But then they won him over. Brandon Lee was in another movie called Rapid Fire, which is actually a pretty cool action movie that he did right before The Crow. And it kind of won him this part. Now, following his death, Brandon Lee's fiance and his mother supported the movie being finished. His stunt double, Chad Sawalski, ended up doing the scenes that needed to be done to complete the movie. Now, originally, too, they had created a mask that he was going to wear that was Brandon's face as the Crow.
Uh-huh.
It was very creepy, and it kind of,
Well, I imagine like trying to finish up something that where, you know, the main person had died. Like there's a lot of bad energy around that.
So they didn't go with that. They ended up doing, which was pretty ahead of its time. It was CGI, especially to the face of the stunt double. There are some scenes in the beginning where he's in the mirror and putting on his makeup. Uh-huh. That was all CGI done. Coming out of the grave, all that walking around, that was all CGI done. So there are some cool, there is some bad CGI in this movie. Don't get me wrong. But like this stuff, especially with the face, was way ahead of its time.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. Now, originally, the budget of The Crow was $15 million. Paramount Pictures ended up dropping the movie after Brandon's death. Miramax picked it up, and they injected another $8 million to help complete the movie. And that went to CGI and script being rewritten. This movie had an overall budget of $23 million. Do you know how much it grossed at the box office?
Oof, I'm gonna go $30 million.
Logan?
God, with the stuff, Brandon Lee, oh God, maybe more because of it. 45?
I'm going to go in the other direction based on everything you're saying, it being cursed movie, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to say somewhere around the lines of 18 million.
This movie grossed $94 million.
Holy shit.
I'm telling you, it's because it's a cursed movie people went to go see it. It's the other way that you're thinking.
So it is talked about, like, would this movie have done what it did?
94 million. Jesus Christ.
If Brandon hadn't died during the filming. I mean, that's a legitimate question. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you'll never get to the bottom of that because
nope.
Yeah.
And what's weird too is Paramount. There were rumors that they wanted to do this straight to DVD before, or not. DVD at the time. Straight to video.
Yeah, VHS.
VHS. But like other people were saying and things I read, this graphic novel the movie was based on was well talked about in the community, and people were really looking forward to this movie being made. So I don't know if
Certainly wasn't a lot of comic book movies around this time.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And to be making an indie comic, well, it seems like that's really only the only comic book movies that got made around this time frame was more like independent comic books. But yeah, I mean, the fact that The Crow got made is pretty amazing unto itself.
Yeah, and shit, man, what it grossed, $94 million.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Whew. Now, currently on Rotten Tomatoes, The Crow has a 85% critic score and a 90% audience score. So I want to just start the review out really quickly because this is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I don't want to take away from the other gentlemen what they're going to say. So I do want to say that this movie, it has 100% nostalgia for me. I'm going to admit it right off the bat. You know, I grew up watching this movie a million times. Nathan, our producer, will vouch for me. I mean, I watched this movie so much. If you could overwatch a movie, this was probably it for me. Like, up until we had done this review, I hadn't really seen The Crow in a long time because I did overwatch it. You know, in high school, I grew my hair out long. I dyed it black. I wore a long leather black coat. I wore black clothes.
He wore makeup and went out to kick.
He played the part.
I played guitar. I really felt like I was him. I had people come up to me. You know, we had an open campus in our high school, so when it rained, I'd be out there in the rain, and like I had people say to me,
That's
"You
not as
look
cool
like
as
that
it
dude from The
sounds."
Crow." You're right.
It can't rain all the time, Kev.
I'm glad you told me that, Bearclaw. I wish somebody did at that time. And you know what? And actually, like emotionally,
That would have been a lie.
emotionally too, I think, you know, when you're in high school and you're dealing with everything, you know, this movie kind of, you know, it hits on some of that for me. You know, it really, I think too, it's kind of a timepiece because, you know, the 80s had happened and there was this whole like kind of bubblegum, like Reagan-esque like environment. And then the early 90s came in and was like anti-establishment.
This certainly hit in one of the grittier years of the 90s, 1994. Certainly hit that really the 80s are over and the 90s are here kind of
Right.
thing.
And I think it gave kids, you know, at least it did for me. And I think there are other kids, you know, something to look at that wasn't this everything's okay
What was this
situation.
movie rated?
R.
Yeah.
Oh, this was an R?
Yeah, this was an R.
I'm a little surprised by that. I would have thought it would have been more violent than it was for being an R, because I feel like they could have squeaked out a PG-13 on this one.
They might have been. You're right. They might have been. Yeah, because there are like cutaways, and there were scenes that were cut out of this, especially the one I would have liked to see in this, especially for the horror vibes, is when Funboy gets killed.
Well, you don't see when Funboy gets killed. You don't see when Tintin gets killed. You barely see when T-Bird gets killed.
That's
You
true.
just see him get
Well,
exploded.
yeah,
but-
would you want to see him get?
I mean, those effects would have
I
been
was
great.
okay
right?
with T-Bird the way he went
I
out.
thought that was quite done.
Yeah, I think that was a excellent kill.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, this just hits nostalgia for me. And even watching it now, it brings like me back to those times. And even though the movie is very heavy, it deals with dark tones.
Yeah, I was
and-
about to say, how did that make you feel when you were a kid? Did that make you feel good? Because I didn't make
well,
me feel good.
I think that kind of goes into why it's hard to rewatch it, and I don't know why I rewatched it so much, but it is a very heavy movie. Like it's
Yeah, somebody
is.
who
You know?
gets, beaten and stuff, and
Yeah.
then
I
comes
feel like
back from the
I feel like
dead.
when you're watching this, you're feeling feelings that are perhaps greater than feelings have ever been felt by anyone else. It's that very angsty, very
No, I can feel those feelings.
introspective,
Yeah.
melodramatic. It has to be said.
Yes, yeah, 100%. 100%. I think, not to get too much back into the graphic novel, but in there, there are a range of emotions. And Eric Draven in the novel, or in the graphic novel, ends up cutting himself to deal with all these feelings he's feeling. Now, they don't have that in the movie, but like, I think that
wonder
kind of gives you
why.
the idea of the gravity of the situation. Now,
Bryce, even now I'm feeling depressed.
well, you know what? I want to start this off. What are your overall feelings on The Crow? Logan, start us off. I want to know from Logan, how does this movie hit you?
Oh, thank you.
In 2024, the year of our Lord.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks. What? 1994, the year of our Lord.
2024. You don't even listen to me.
Goddamn kids these days.
Kids.
Sorry, I was thinking about things in the pouring rain, thinking that thinking about how life is, that's all we kids do. My reaction of this movie is kind of similar to yours, because, I didn't have nostalgia looking at this, but I definitely felt like, man, what a great movie. Like, this is my second watch. I watched it twice. I watched it before, I think, like, a couple months ago, and I just watched it recently before this podcast. I think this is a really good movie, like, I never really look at it like, it's a bad movie. There's obviously things that are like, eh. As far as the actual character, the Crow, you gotta talk, like, the entire, like, location, scenery, all that stuff. Camera work, the cinematography is just, like, really well done, especially for 1994,
Mm-hmm.
But,
So you'd say the cinematography was well done?
yeah.
Okay. I'm just getting my bearings, that's all.
I didn't say it was. I didn't say it was fantastic.
The, like, weird shots of like him playing guitar on a roof and the camera going upside down.
Yes,
like that was good.
Yes,
okay.
I actually liked it.
Just
whatever, man. You're a hater.
This is for the kids, Bearclaw.
Yeah, let me get into my dark. Let me get into my dark mood.
I've been watching so many things about this movie, and I don't mean to interrupt Logan's thing here, but I've just been watching, and people are saying these things, and about this movie, and you look at them, and it's hard for me to understand the nostalgia filters on this movie. I feel like are so strong that like nobody sees the movie. Like they say, oh, it's got these great lines, it's got this great cinematography, and like you take a look at the bare facts of what the movie is, and I'm having a hard time seeing it.
Well, I'm a young person, so you can take my word for this. I wasn't looking away at it, thinking about what time this one is going to be over. I was deeply enthralled into it because I think for a reason why is because, well, one, I hated the villains, so I wanted to see them gone. So that got me into the movie. You instantly are just like, oh man, these guys are assholes. So like that kind of.
Yeah, I think like the way it starts too with like kind of the graphic scenes against a woman and watch it. Like it kind of puts you right in that situation right away.
Yeah.
Like when Logan was watching it, he was like, I really like how we just jump right into
there's no exposition. Just get right into it. There's no need for exposition.
You see, but here's the thing. Why were they just randomly ransacking and doing horrific things in that lady's apartment?
Fighting tenant eviction in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I remember her. We needed to put some fear into that little lady. She wasn't going along with our tenant relocation program.
Well, if you listen...
Well, yes, when you go through and you dissect
the woman was going against the crew. The crew showed up and killed her and Eric.
Yeah,
so
it takes like you gotta do some.
I'm not really caring about it. I don't care why they did it. Obviously, they're not great people. I don't care whether or not they're morally sound or not. Like this is The Crow. It's not a movie for morals.
Dang.
It's a movie for kicking ass and wearing your makeup while doing it.
What about you?
For some
proudly
reason,
wearing your BDSM gear and makeup and
he's an artist.
Goodness gracious,
he's an artist, Bearclaw.
What's your thoughts, Jan, on The Crow?
This movie, I saw it probably around maybe the first time, maybe around 97. So I was probably about 11, 12, 13 years old. I'm not going to lie to you guys, it did not leave a huge impression on me then. Thought it was all right. Never considered it a horror movie. I always kind of saw it as an action or a drama. It's interesting to actually watch it again and try to put it in the lens of a horror movie. And when I did that, I was like, all right, I actually see it. Like, this is a slasher where you're supposed to root for the killer.
That's true.
Yeah, he's a vigilante, so it works.
Yeah.
And now he loves this movie.
And then it's also like, this is like a ghost story and about, lost love and a vengeful spirit. And, these are all ideas and concepts that I'm on board to explore.
Yeah.
You know what? We watched Reanimator.
Yeah.
We watched The Exorcist, too.
Eric Draven was reanimated in a way.
Yeah.
In a way, he was
by a crow.
By a crow.
Yeah. But,
Birds, like Payman.
Payman's a bird.
No, Nathan, cut it.
But, I mean, after watching it a handful of times, my position really hasn't changed too much on it. Even putting the horror lens on it, like I'm not passionate about this movie. I think it's a long hour and 42, and they went for more aesthetic, style, and atmosphere over quality writing. I would say this is the Notebook for dark and stormy types.
Well, I think, you know what? It is important to really understand, too. A lot of what you said's true. This is a love story when it comes down to it. You know, in the final lines of the movie, they kind of talk about love surpassing death.
Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever.
That's the quote at the end. Buildings die, love.
Yeah.
Something.
So there is that.
Well, we know that got through to you.
It sure did.
Well, there is that
That'll
theme
stick with you.
throughout, you know, and so I can see that. Like this is like a teenage boy's notebook. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think about this movie and they obviously think about like being reborn, but at the same time, like this movie isn't about being reborn. It's about revenge and taking the lover's route. You know, obviously he didn't go for like, you know, the usual like, oh, I'm going to talk to them and tell them to change their ways, except for that heroin lady. Cause you know, reasons.
Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Do you understand?
I'm going to squeeze the heroin out of her veins, and then
That's
she's
bad
gonna,
for you.
And then she's going to magically be a good mother. And
Why couldn't he do that for the cop that was smoking the cigarettes?
well, he had to counsel him because it was family council time, and he counseled. And his real superpower is listening, guys.
I gotta say though, I gotta get into the worst for me because like I think we're getting into that point where I'm like I got to talk about it. How do you guys feel about Sarah?
Logan hates kids, man.
I must go punch that baby.
Yeah,
I hate kid actors. Maybe it's
I
because
thought she was the most developed character besides the Crow.
No, I'm talking. I don't think it's like the character Sarah. I think it's what the hell is the relationship here
It's not my sister. Ella just takes care of me.
between Sarah, Eric, and like I imagine it
Well,
being
her mother
like
was like a
crack whore.
yeah.
So
was
Eric and
not doing
Shelley
the best
took care
job
of it.
mothering. So
it's just
it's okay. She's a crack
I
whore.
hate the scenes where like she realizes that it's Eric, and I'm like, okay, how do you know that? Like, and it's just like it's one of those things where like it goes throughout the movie, but like I'm always like, God damn it, man! Like I don't care about this little kid.
Actually, like I thought it was a good thing that both her and Officer Albright realized that it was Eric Draven because like I hate when movies pretend to be stupid. Like you
Like
know,
Superman.
I get they're trying to be some realism.
Although the detective was like painting the Crow makeup over his face. It's kind
of like Superman, where I'm like, man, you can't realize this big ass dude is wearing glasses and he's like not Superman. Like, come on, man.
I think we should give Mr. Bearclaw the floor.
Oh, well.
What do you think on The Crow?
So I only saw The Crow a couple of weeks ago for the first time.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again the other night.
Bless your heart.
Which you know, I think the problem is I don't have any nostalgia for this movie, and I don't want to, and I would never, you know, without any nostalgia for this movie. I think this movie is very challenging, and I think that it means a lot to a lot of people, and I find that it means so much to people, very interesting, because there are movies that I like that are not mainstream and that I think have some interesting issues. But The Crow is very interesting to me because it has very much a cult following. People feel very strongly about it. People identify with it in many ways. I don't identify with it as much. I find it to be very overly dramatic. I'm not a really big fan of the lines, but I mean, it's not... it wasn't for me, and would I have felt differently had I seen it when I was younger and maybe had different emotions or something like that? I think then that would have made the difference in this case. But without any of the nostalgia, I would say it's a very challenging movie for me. It felt very long. It was very difficult for me to relate to The Crow, and I just found it to be a comically bad movie. But, you know, that's just because I don't have that nostalgia for it, and I think that's what makes the difference here.
Gotcha. I do want to talk about some of how it was shot because Logan had brought this up with the cinematography.
I mean, I just said it was well.
Well, see, you feel like it's well.
Sometimes.
Bearclaw's seems to be the opposite. Dan, what do you think on how it was shot?
Kind of leaning more on Bearclaw's side on that.
Okay. Originally, they wanted to shoot this. Alex Proyas wanted to shoot this in all black and white, complete black and white.
That would have been cool.
And
That
actually,
would have
would've
been
been
Sin
cool.
City like.
yeah, Brandon Lee was on board for it too, and he talked about it in many interviews before this movie happened to release.
Because the comic is black and white,
yes,
right?
the comic is black and white. What they wanted to do is they wanted to shoot most of it in black and white, and then the flashback scenes were going to be in color, in bright colors.
That would have made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
That-
It
That
would
would
have
have
been
been a good choice.
Artistically.
which
yeah.
is cool because we had just watched and
Juxtaposition.
reviewed Late Night with the Devil, and they
Yeah.
do the opposite sort of deal where like it not the flashback scenes, but like the real
Behind the
scenes.
scenes.
Yeah, they do the black and white.
The backstage stuff.
So what they ended up settling on, because the producers did not think that would go over well with a mainstream audience, was they pretty much shot this in blacks, grays, and reds. They took out blues. The color contrast is pretty
It's very odd, and it looks very odd, and they did a good job of making it look comic booky in some ways.
Yes, yeah.
I think especially with using like the model cities and some of the things that they had to do there, but just some of the stuff, it's almost like they experimented for good and for bad. You know what I mean?
think
Like there was
sometimes
some
it was
stuff
too
they
dark.
did
Yeah.
very successfully, but then there was other times where it was clearly an experimental way of doing things and it kind of didn't work.
Yeah, I think you're right. They did experiment, with how it was shot. Especially you were saying with the guitar scenes and things
the
like that.
perspective on that is so screwy.
Yeah. Alex Proyas had never directed a big motion picture before this. He had directed music videos.
Yeah, that all
It does look like a music
It does
And
look like
that's-
a giant
and that's
music
why,
video.
yeah, that's why you get some of those vibes, especially the flashback scenes. A lot of the scenes too, where he's in the boardroom there, in the lighting is kind of all over the place. You get some strobe effects. That was all his influence on this movie. What was cool, I did see an interview with Ernie Hudson, who plays Officer Albright.
Winston.
Winston.
And he said to him, he thought this movie was cool. And he said this during filming of this movie because he felt like it was going to be a movie for its time, which I think it
is
was.
certainly that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have some of that. I think, though, what was a cool thing, and I'm kind of myself borderline back and forth. Like, I like it sometimes, I don't other times, but it had the true Gothic feel to this movie. And that's something that certain people are afraid in the remake, that some of that will be lost.
The remake
in how it was
looks
shot.
great.
What?
Yeah, the remake.
Let's get into
The
it.
remake looks like it's gonna be. It might actually. I don't know. The remake looks pretty exciting. I don't know.
Bearclaw, is that your actual thing, or is
Bearclaw,
that
are
Are
you
you going for heat right now?
Are you taking a shot with a bullet?
He's Dominic.
I am not scared. It's one of those things that it looks like it's a coherent story with good actors and.
Bill Skarsgård?
Bill Skarsgård. I'm a huge fan
Yep.
of everything that they've done. It looks fantastic. I mean,
You got Post Malone in the trailer. About to be good.
I don't know. It looks like it's got a villain in it, which is no Top Dollar. Top Dollar was a good villain. There's no two ways about that. But the new villain looks pretty good too. He's played the villain in a couple of different.
Yeah,
movies.
he was a villain in Wolverine, right? In the X-Men.
Yeah, that's right.
Forget his name, but he is a good villain.
I mean, that's the thing though with remakes is it's all we all have opinions about like certain movies. Like for me, one movie I really want to go see is the new Twister movie. And I'm obviously
Yeah.
I've obviously heard I've heard from like so many, I'm gonna say it, older people
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
I love the young people.
More mature, as my teacher likes to say, is that, you know, they're not as good because it's without Bill Paxton or whatever. It's like, I don't care. I could literally give two shits about some guy in a movie, you know, like it doesn't matter to me. It's about the story. If you can tell a good story with new actors that are obviously good, then what's the sense of like, I think you should at least try it. Obviously it's probably not going to be good, but I'm still going to watch it.
Well, I mean, like remakes have been going on since the beginning of film, you know what I mean?
And I think like even the people that are like talking about like remakes and stuff, they love remakes themselves. Like they're hypocritical.
It's
you know?
To your point. Like if it's a good story, like it's gonna get told again in a different time period.
Even with sequels too, they even do that.
Dan, are you looking forward to the remake of The Crow? Did you see the trailer at all?
I saw it. I saw your guys' take on it.
I agree with most of what was said.
I do as well. I mean, I'm gonna check it out. I have no expectations for it to be good. Like I said, like if you're going to go see it, man, I will go see it with you guys, 100%. But like,
maybe we should
I'm
do
not
a
going
Miles
out of
of
my
Madness field trip.
little field trip to the movie.
Vlog
theater.
time.
I think for me, you know, we did do a Straight Jacket Talk episode on the trailer reaction to the new Crow, the Crow remake. And I'm very caught in the middle of how I feel because I think Bill Skarsgård is a great actor and Logan has a great point that if it is a great story and told a great way, it can be a great movie. You know, I do think that this could be a way too to introduce a new audience to the original.
And that's
movie.
always what helps.
I think what people are most sensitive about is the Brandon Lee aspect of all of this, because I think that is a big component to the love of the original Crow movie.
Yes, and here's what I want to say on that is this is why I'm caught in the middle, because I am one of those people that feel like Eric Draven shouldn't be reused, but it is a character made up. Like what, you know, I mean,
it's the Crow.
Supposedly, this is supposed to follow the comic books more closely than the original.
So with that too, James O'Barr, who did do the comic book, and it is his character, if you care what he thinks, he has said in the past that Eric Draven should only be played by Brandon Lee ever. That's his opinion, not mine. But
well, opinions change.
Well, here's what I think about it too. There were sequels done to The Crow.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're
Crow
already shit
salvation.
all over his
Yes. But that's
They
my
don't
point
care
too.
about him
That's my
anymore.
point too, though, is these movies used other character names and similar stories, but
Oh, they
different.
did?
Yeah, they didn't use Eric Draven.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in City of Angels,
So is there more than one Crow?
Sarah
names.
comes back. Yeah, so they use similar stories in the other movies, but it's not Eric Draven and Shelley Webster's story. It's other similar stories that the Crow
Officer Albrecht.
reanimates these people to come back and take revenge. And that is my point on this remake. You could have done something similar with just two different character names. I know it sounds stupid. It's a name.
It seems like, I feel like with that, it's just like it's not supposed to be like the original. It's supposed to be its own thing. I think the problem is because people are so looking into this separate entity that they're like, oh yeah, it's got to be like this, exactly like this. Nothing else can change. It's like times change.
I hear you, but I think this could be a cash grab a little bit.
Well, it is.
Because
There's
it's also
no-
coming out this year,
There's
the
not a movie that's
30th
been made
anniversary.
that's not a cash
You're right.
grab,
It's
though,
all about the
but-
cash.
Well, yeah.
I don't. Well, when Bearclaw,
business.
yeah.
You know what? I want to get into some better parts of this movie.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite scenes in this movie? Come on, there's some good scenes, right?
I love the
Right.
villains in this movie. I think the villains are
Who's
pretty.
who's your favorite villain?
I mean,
Bearclaw?
T-Bird stands out in my mind as being an awesome. You know, he was really awesome in that movie, The Warriors. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No, I haven't seen
the
that.
actor. You guys haven't seen The Warriors? Oh, that is a wonderful movie. You know, he was the bad guy who killed Cyrus, the one and only. He was part of the Rebels gang, and he killed Cyrus, and that's what. And then
spoiled it.
No, that happens in like the first 10 minutes.
All
of
I
the
can
movie.
think about is Cyrus the Virus from Con Air. Put the bunny down.
But can you dig it? He was the guy that was like clicking the bottles together in that iconic like warriors come out to play.
Warriors, come out to play.
But like T-Bird, I thought was one of the cooler villains because I mean he was just unrepentantly evil.
Yeah.
He had his little devil saying, and then Top Dollar, of course, was pretty. He was like a good villain. He was like that classic like boss bad guy.
Yeah, Michael
kind of,
Wincott, the actor, is pretty.
really
creepy.
good.
All I can think about is the wrestler Top Dollar, and that's all I can think about.
Top Dollar, yeah, and I mean, Tintin, Fun Boy,
There's some
and
terrible
Skank, they were okay too. Not as much flavor as some of the other ones, but like Top Dollar and his stepsister there,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that was
Mika.
weird. Yeah, burning eyeballs and whatnot.
Yeah. That I don't know.
Her eyes look so innocent.
But she knew about the magic crow though.
Yeah, she was
so-
kind of hot. She had that witch vibe.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
But I
she's
mean-
not my sister.
Hey man, I'm not into anyone that does their brother, man. I don't know about that.
Hey, to each their own. I'm not.
Look,
I'm not.
I'm
judging.
into crazy, but not that crazy.
You know what? You didn't mention too. The Candyman was in this.
Yeah, yep, that's right. Tony Todd was in this as I don't know what
Grange.
Grange.
They never really.
He was carrying quite a pistol like I had never seen before. I don't know. It was like a machine gun pistol or something. I don't know.
It was cool.
It did look cool. It was definitely unique. I mean, Tony Todd was definitely one of the scarier villains of this movie, but he only really shoots the Crow. I think he shoots Eric Draven a bunch too, but he's the one who like first injures the Crow.
Yeah,
and,
you're
like,
right. Yeah, in the church at the end.
And the church at the end, yeah.
Because kind of the creepy sister there figures out that the Crow is
the source
link.
of his power. Yeah,
I think every action movie we watch, just don't go in a church. I know we had to, but like Sarah will get over it.
That's such an iconic scene, though, where he opens the church doors. This actually was filmed during winter, too, and it was like 5 degrees out there.
Well, winter isn't coming. It's here.
It was one of the coldest winters in North Carolina, too, at the time.
Another thing. Let's just add it to the pile.
How about you, Dan? What stands out in this movie? What are some of your favorite scenes?
Definitely the pawn shop scene where he fucks with the pawn shop owner guy, blows his shop up.
Yeah.
Guy gets blown like into a wall.
He was also breaking his stuff too.
I love how quality wise and how it's shot when he hits the wall, the brick wall wiggles.
Yes. Logan and me were talking too. How did this dude escape that building?
I'm gonna talk about that later.
There's no way he gets out of that building.
Dad, I'm gonna talk about it later because I got something cooking.
Let's see. Obviously T-Bird's death.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool scene.
Hey, Dan.
Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
That's not gonna get old.
I hurt my throat.
You fired it up too hard.
I know.
It's
too hard there.
Every time somebody says it, we have to do it.
I agree with you. I love T-Bird's death. That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Another good one. There's scenes in this movie that
I love this movie.
You secretly love it.
They're bad, and they're somehow so bad that they work their way around to being good. And it's specifically the Top Dollar's monologue where he goes into like
chaos.
Yes, and then he's like, "Skank, how you feel?" And he's like, "I feel like a worm on a hook. I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook."
I feel like a fucking worm on a hook, man.
Great scene.
I love too when Eric Draven gets him finally, and he's like, "What's he say to?" He's like something to Skank. I'm not Skank. That's Skank over there. Skank's dead, and Eric Draven's like, "You're right."
That's Skank right there. Skank's dead.
That's right.
And throws him out the window.
Well, it's kind of like that line where he said he's like, they're dead. They just don't know it yet.
They're all dead. They just don't know it yet.
Love that. Oh man, that gave me body chills when he said that, man.
Yeah, I love all. It's funny too, because like you were saying, like I do love a lot of this movie, but even some of the stupid scenes, like the chase where Skank gets in the car and he's chasing T-Bird down.
He's loyal. He wipes out the cop car.
Yeah, he wipes out the cop car.
Yeah.
He's loyal, man.
I know, dude. He was like, I'm not letting my boy go out like this. We all need somebody like Skank.
He definitely had I think you said it, like he definitely had a mental deficiency.
Something a little wrong with Skank, but that's
I mean, his name is literally
Ed,
Skank.
the Ed Hyena from Lion King.
Yes, you're right.
Well, I mean, the gang, everybody, all of the bad guys were kind of just like evil for evil's sake in this movie. Like, there wasn't really any.
There's no depth to them. Besides
there's
that.
no jet.
I do bad things. I'm Batman.
I'm inherently bad. I do bad
I love
things.
it, though.
I will always do bad things. I'm irredeemable.
Well,
I hate when villains have like an actual like more like they have like this is why
a
I
motive,
do it. Yeah, like these people are just
understanding of why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
This was actually a big part of the graphic novel because what he tried to show in the graphic novel was in the book, they are killed on the roadside. They're in a car and they're killed by the gang. But it was supposed to be one of those things where it could happen to anybody, sort of deal, kind of like what happened to his wife with the drunk driver. Like, this is a random event. Like, we don't need to know what their motives is because they're just bad people. Like, they rape and kill, and this is all part of their deal. Like, I believe Tintin, at the beginning when Eric Draven was calling out murder, he's like, let me tell you something about murder. It's fun. It's easy.
Let me tell you about murder. It's fun. It's easy. You gonna learn all about it.
And that's who they are. Like, they're telling you that straight from the beginning. Like,
yeah,
they enjoy what they do. These are bad fucking people,
Yeah.
There's no redeeming qualities. Logan,
not supposed to be.
What did you enjoy in this movie?
I really liked obviously the pawn shop being destroyed, and I love just the tete-a-tete with the shop owner and the
You liked him being a dick.
Yeah.
Kind of still, even though Eric was
I mean, the best
him
is
up.
just him just like watching as he's just destroying his shop looking for stuff. But also, like him hitting that wall. He should have died. That shouldn't have came back from that. There's no coming back.
There ain't no coming back.
Yeah, like T-Bird's death obviously got to be up there. Like, there's so many great scenes, I think. I mean, I'm going to say it. I do love the part where he just is experiencing it all over again, like seeing it back, like going back to the house and just like feeling everything going on at once. Because obviously, like, he just came back from the dead, so it's still like sinking in. But like, one of the coolest scenes, and I will always say this, the only reason this movie is as good as it is, if it didn't have it, it wouldn't be as good. And that's the scene where you see the graveyard, the crow's standing on it, and he comes out of the grave just like a sick.
You like that? Yeah.
Oh,
that's
man.
a cool scene. I like
just
that.
love it. It's like Shredder-like, like the hand reaching out, kind of like, I don't know. It's just something about it just gives me like, these kind of like, oh, we're in it now. We're just feeling it.
Is the crow like? Is it fair? He's undead, right? What would be what would we call him? Because he is dead.
Yeah,
that is no longer dead.
What I actually enjoy is there isn't a big explanation to what's going on.
There doesn't need to be.
and that crow mythology is I tried to
You got more bird.
I tried to do more bird mythology. I could tell you some very detailed things about the difference between a crow and a raven. When he was going into the pawn shop, he used that Edgar Allan Poe reference to the raven, which is confusing because he's the crow. They are, in fact, different bird species.
He doesn't know what bird it is.
But he doesn't probably know that, and nobody at the film bothered to do the research.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that one.
But like, I tried to look for the crow mythology of like what.
Dude, take another shot with the bullet in it, Bearclaw. Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
But like, I tried to look up like what crow mythology and stuff, and everybody references some culture, or everybody just says some cultures, which means no specific culture. some cultures have crows that carry the spirit of the dead back, and then some people say, oh, well, they bring back vengeful spirits and stuff, but nobody cites any specific culture or any. And so I think, and even the author of the comic book said he made it up just for this.
Yeah.
So there's not really. So how this happens and the rules of the universe and stuff. I mean, the other question is, was anybody at any moments like this isn't really a horror movie, but was there anything terrifying to anybody in this movie?
Oh yeah, it's more like thrills than horror, because like obviously it's not great to watch a woman just get beaten up and killed and, you know, all that stuff going on. Also the scene where he's going around the apartment, like just like feeling this, you know, like you gotta say like there aren't really a lot of horror, but like what do you constitute as horror, you know, like.
Well, I mean, you know, I think you could call this horror because it's about an undead zombie who's going on an vengeful killing rampage, and also families and social services calls as well. Marriage counseling.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, right, he does kind of torture these guys before killing them a little bit, or he kills them in a torturing way, like with Tintin.
We don't see if he kills.
I mean, even Top Dollar
kill anybody. Really.
That kill with the sword and the gun, like that was something. Or he just like put the sword in that shop owner, and then just like was like, you're taking too long. I'm just gonna kill you.
Oh
anyway.
yeah. In Gideon, Top Dollar puts the sword through him, and then he shoots Gideon because he was taking too long. Yeah, I mean. I think there are elements because of the undead part that are horror, and that's probably the biggest thing. You know, some of the deaths are supposed
it's like a
to be
slasher
horror.
movie.
Yeah.
Before I was talking with Dan, I was like, in no way is this a horror movie, and then he's like, no, it's a slasher movie.
You're
because
right.
The Crow is in fact the slasher here.
I was thinking about this because we did touch on Batman, and I know we were being a little like tongue in cheek with Batman, right? And
this movie was definitely like Batman.
I'm not going to compare The Crow to Batman. All right, so please don't come at me. But I think if you're
That'd be unfair to The Crow.
If you're going with full vigilante, right?
Yeah.
This is what this looks like. Well, Batman is a vigilante, but he also doesn't kill people.
Yeah, he has morals.
Right.
The Crow doesn't have morals. He's also Batman ain't dead.
Batman works with the police. Batman's not dead.
Here's the thing. You know, if we want to get into the morals and ethics of it, you know, the Crow coming back from the dead and then going and getting vengeance. Like the part of that is most baffling to me is like, okay, so like Batman doesn't kill because he understands that to kill would make him no different than the very people that he was going after.
The Crow doesn't care.
The Crow cares not about that. The Crow is just coming back for just sheer vengeance. And isn't that kind of evil in some ways unto itself?
You're right. Yeah. And I think the writer also said that there's almost this knowing when he's reanimated to life that this is what his purpose is. You know, especially in the movie, because in the book they kind of go a little bit with it with the Crow and helping him and guiding him. It's like he's almost not reborn, but reanimated to life with the understanding this is what he needs to do.
Dark Knight Rises.
I do also want to talk about the soundtrack to this movie, because this has one of the best banger soundtracks of all time, no?
I mean, it's got Nin.
Yep.
Rage Against the Machine.
Yep.
The Cure.
Yes.
And Stone Temple Pilots.
Yep. Violent Femmes. Helmet, which I'm a big Helmet fan.
I'm a big Violent Femmes kind of guy.
You like the Violent Femmes? Good. Yeah. Pantera, Rollins Band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's all on the soundtrack.
Yeah, so they got a great soundtrack.
Here's my question, us older folk, Logan. When we were kids, right, we would actually buy CDs of soundtracks and things
like that. There's still vinyl.
But but they don't have movie soundtracks.
Vinyl is the one that survived.
I love vinyl.
I love vinyl too.
But why don't more movies nowadays have soundtracks like this that use contemporary music and release an actual soundtrack from the movie?
Yeah, a lot of bands through movie soundtracks.
You're right.
They do, but I think they also realized, hey, these cost a ton of money, and also as old as these songs get, they also get more richer for their taste, and also these companies aren't looking to expand on these.
Well, I think you're right too.
Budgets.
Is they're trying to save some money and not
they're not. They don't have a lot of
music rights and things.
They don't have a lot of time to just sit around.
I don't know. Do they release albums like this anymore.
They release soundtracks of
They release
movies.
soundtracks still, I think. I
Yeah,
think so.
Dad. Yes, they do.
All right, I guess fuck me then.
Yeah. Yes. Fuck you.
What you were saying before, though. Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! What you were saying before about the remake with The Crow in the trailer, they use a contemporary Post Malone song. And I think it would be cool if they used contemporary music in this remake of The Crow.
Oh, they will.
Yeah.
But don't just tease it in the trailer, because again, like we talked about in Straight Jacket Talk, trailers are made to make the movies look cool.
Yeah.
Don't get us into this movie, especially the Mouths of Madness.
I feel like after I've watched the new Crow trailer, though, I feel like I've watched the movie.
Yeah. I'm just gonna say this. Did you actually care about the music in this movie?
Yes. The original?
The Crow?
The original Crow. Did you care about the music?
No.
Exactly.
I mean, it was pretty terrible, but
I'm just gonna say it. I did not care about the music. They could have picked like a lot of music and I would have just been like, okay, that works. Because like it's not about the music for me in this movie. It's about the
it's not about the music, but the music is there to enhance the story.
What is it about this movie though? Because help me. What is it?
Help you.
It like that. That's what I'm keep trying to get.
What is it?
Yeah.
Bill
What is
Skarsgård.
it?
Is it?
Like that. That's what I'm trying to get to. Is like what would you guys say is the reason that this movie resonates so much with you?
Because it makes me feel alive.
A movie about an undead killer makes you feel alive. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just the story and like resonating and like, you know, the revenge angle and retribution. Yeah, retribution.
I love getting I think for me, it's because one, I hate those douchebags, man.
Yeah, you're rooting for Eric Draven,
You're rooting
right?
for it. Also, haven't you ever been like bullied before and taken down a
No
peg?
one bullies Bearclaw.
Yeah,
Look
no,
at him.
I don't.
We've all been bullied once or twice. Obviously, we've been like tossed around a little bit. So for somebody to get revenge off of something, you know, like obviously we haven't experienced something quite like this. Obviously, we're not being reborn by a bird. But, like, you know, we've obviously felt the sense of, like,
Don't get him started with the birds.
Oh, Jesus Christ. We're not going to get into payment, man. We've obviously felt, like, a sense of, like, vengeance, like, come over us. We're like, oh, we got to take matters in our own hands or something like that. Or we got to do something about it. But we never actually do. So, like, to see the Crow actually do it in such a way like this, you know, it's obviously violent, but it's also, like, it's badass because he does it with this kind of like suspense and kind of just like takes action in his own hands, doesn't really care, you know. Because like for me, that's what always made me a fan of Batman is like, you know, he's a man who just doesn't care as much. Like, yeah, he does care, but like at the same time, you know, in the newer Batman movies, we obviously see that he doesn't care about, you know, attention or whatever. He just cares about taking, you know, matters in his own hands because obviously the cops aren't going to do a damn thing. The cops aren't good in this movie. They're just like, screw you. We're racist. We're going to hate you. I mean, that detective was pretty much against Albright from the beginning. But like, you know, this guy is kind of like the underdog in the story. Like he's always looked down upon because he's, you know, a creep or whatever. So whenever he does get vengeance, it always feels good to like see it out.
Plus, he looks cool as hell, man.
Yeah.
He's got the rock star vibes, painted face, Bearclaw.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the first thing that I would do if I was undead and seeking vengeance is I would make sure to sit in front of a mirror, make sure I got my my jungle face makeup on. And, you know, I mean,
your BDSM gear.
Well, you know, one of the things that bothers me too about the movie is like and again, everybody's going to excuse all of my points with, oh, but this is such a great movie and it's a cult classic and we love it. And you're going to be right because and I would never want to take that from anybody, but it's just like he goes from being like not really kind of like a hand-to-hand wrestling kind of because it's not like there's not like a fighting style that he's doing. He's like to like halfway through the movie, he goes like Matrix with guns. So he's using guns one time, he's using hand to hand sometimes, he's setting up these elaborate traps other time. I don't know. It was very like, it was hard for me to follow precisely like what the Crow's kind of angle was, besides just like raw vengeance. And I don't know. I had trouble connecting with the movie.
I think the Crow gave him enhanced powers, made him like a
Well, he could do
superhero.
anything and everything. He could take heroin out of a woman's arm. He could become social services.
I think it's best not to ask.
He can make her want to be a better mother.
When Ichi plays Scratchy's skeleton like a xylophone, he strikes the same rib twice in succession, yet he produces two clearly different tones. I mean, what are we, to believe that this is some sort of a magic xylophone or something?
He can...
well, if a dude in makeup that just
he
took
is
heroin out of your arm.
unless you shoot his bird, his little pet. If you shoot his pet, then it becomes a problem.
I thought that was
he makes
pretty...
perfect Crow symbols with lighter fluid.
He does it
with a little bottle of lighter.
A little bottle of lighter
That was a
fluid.
badass.
That's
scene.
impressive.
Yeah.
That was actually that.
Who's
we
that
didn't
for?
talk about that.
That's his mark, man. He puts
That's his
the blood
Batman
on,
signal,
yeah,
bro.
right. He puts the blood in the Crow symbol.
Every
I don't know, man. It's badass. Just
It's his calling card.
Yes. Every great hero or villain has a calling
Bearclaw.
card.
If it was you, you'd have a big bear paw everywhere.
It's the bear. It's Jeremy Allen White. No, that's just Bearclaw.
Bearclaw's gonna be all fired up.
Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up!
All right, it's time for our favorite segment: hook, line, and stinker. Hey, you're the one who wanted to run with the bit. Now we're running with the bit.
Running with the devil.
Our hook is our favorite kill in the movie. Our line is our favorite line or quote that's in the movie. And our stinker is something funny, strange, or weird that happens during the movie that makes it either better or worse. My hook is T-Bird's kill. I love that. I love how T-Bird's just talking nonstop to him, like, who are you? Oh, yeah, no. Like, just babbling on.
Yep.
Eric Draven's not saying a word. He's like, oh, I know you. There ain't no coming back, man. There ain't no coming back. And that's also my line, too. I love how he just keeps repeating it. There ain't no coming back.
There ain't no coming back. This is the really real world. There ain't no coming back. We killed your dad. There ain't no coming back.
And then he goes into his prayer as he puts the, was it a grenade in his lap?
Yep.
Yeah.
Puts it right next to his crotch.
I love, too, how he duct tapes his eyes open, too. He's got to see the whole thing go. Oh.
Dude,
and he blows up before he goes in the water.
Yep.
Well, that's how explosions work. Not like the
Well,
pawn
I mean,
shop.
I don't know. Who knows how it goes if he gets to the water first and then blows up? Who knows what that? I don't know. Either way, he's dead.
Let's find out.
My stinker is I love the scene where Skank is hit by the car outside the convenience store, and then the guy gets out of the car and he's like, "You dumbass! You hit my car!"
he calls him an ass hair.
Oh, ass hair!
What the fuck's the matter with you? Stupid ass hair.
Which is so fun. It's so. You can call him an asshole. Sounds
You little ass hair.
Oh man!
Pull you out.
I do have another stinker, and this to me was actually my least favorite part of the movie because I feel like it didn't fit the story. Is when the scene had happened where he goes into the boardroom, he's being all shot up, he kills all those guys, right? He kills Skank. The police show up, right? And what I wanted for his character was just to disappear, man, just disappear. But he has these scenes like Batman where like he's stumbling around off of buildings and then leaps down off a building, and then Officer Albright pulls up and tells him to get in the car, get in the car. Like, I know they're trying to build up this like buddy thing between
He
Eric
got out
Draven
like
and,
a second later too.
I know it was an unneeded scene. Like, just disappear.
This movie's full of them.
Just disappear. Oh, Bearclaw, you're driving me crazy. Pass that bullet over here.
Where the
Taking a
hell is
shot.
the good stuff? You
All right.
said
Dan,
Well,
how about you?
And they made a movie in 1989 called Batman. That's where most of the good stuff.
Ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, because like the villain had like motive and
we
it
don't
was
need
awful.
that. We don't need that.
All right. My hook is the same hook, T-Bird's death. Nothing captures revenge fantasy better than this scene. Like, it's so overdone.
It's insane.
Yeah, he's just like, it's like, here's some fuck you on top of some more fuck you, and then I'm gonna set you on fire, then I'm gonna piss on your grave, and then I'm gonna dig you up, and then I'm gonna set you on fire again. Fuck you, die.
Yeah.
He must have really hated that guy.
But you know what they say
T-Bird
when you're out
sucked.
for vengeance, you got to dig 2 graves, you know? Like vengeance isn't the way. You got forgiveness is the way.
And actually, in the graphic novel, T-Bird is the head villain. So
Oh man, you are. Oh,
there's
that's
no
perfect,
top dollar?
Kevin. That's so perfect.
yeah, Top Dollar's not the top villain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Was he still banging his sister in the comics, though?
Banging away at Darla. No.
Line. Fire it up! Fire it up! Fire it up! I mean, how can you not like those guys in their stupidity, just railing the bullet shots? It's just
I love that.
putting cigarettes out on their tongues. Just
Just the real
good old
winners.
fun times
Yeah,
back then.
Just having a great time.
Put away your guns, boys. These are shooters.
So my stinker is Top Dollar.
Oh.
More like Dollar General Joker.
Whoa, Dan coming in with the haymaker.
I found the character lame and boring. I was hoping he got superpowers like Eric did.
Oh.
But
That would be better.
That's
Right?
a Morbius type
Right?
shit.
Like he's like huffing the eyeballs and he's plowing his sister.
Yeah.
Like that's like some sort of like spell that like his
Like, yeah,
weird
he
sorcery that
somehow,
like Mika looked up on
Somehow
geosites.
fires him up.
So the deep impact in his sister gives him some immortal
Yeah,
powers.
but you gotta
Yeah.
burn eyeballs
Oh,
first,
okay.
You have to
and
burn
then
the eyeballs.
What
Yeah,
kind
very
of
important that you
hocus pocus
burn
shit is
the
this? You
eyeball.
gotta like.
then
the
he'll
flame
get like
of a
some sort of
virgin?
like samurai skills, like in Genshin
Oh.
Impact.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would have made a better movie. But
Yeah.
to your point,
seem
it was
like-
funny you say that because I was saying like I would have been happier if T-Bird was the main villain and they just skipped that dipshit. Just get him right, get him out of there.
Yeah, they changed things in the script in the movie.
So that's interesting that T-Bird is in the graphic novel that he is the actual final boss. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But Top Dollar is not.
Well, he's top dollar.
All right, Bearclaw.
My favorite hook was T-Bird's death, but you know what? I'll switch mine to Gideon's death just because it showed us that Top Dollar, how ruthless and
He
you
don't
know how
fuck around.
psychotic Top Dollar was. I liked Top Dollar because he was trying to keep things moving in this movie. So I did like Top Dollar for that. The lines, my favorite line actually comes from Top Dollar.
Quick impression for you. Caw, bang, fuck, I'm dead.
That was a good one.
Showing, you know, that as cool as the crow is, you kill his crow, he's cooked. Like, he's not that cool. Top Dollar really highlights how that works, and
I did like
really rubs the salt in the wound.
I liked Top Dollar's scene with Eric on the top of the church there.
Yeah,
when
where they had that sword fight with
Yes.
the weather vane. Like, that was pretty chill.
I liked how, you know, he had mentioned like his dad said to him, like,
Yeah.
you always have like your devil or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was like, you have my respect or some bullshit like that.
Yeah, well, and like Top Dollar for all of his faults, he took responsibility. He was like,
Yes.
I did send them to do some horrible stuff to you, and I'm sorry that ruined your wedding. So he did say he was sorry. So Top Dollar also sought forgiveness that Eric did not was unwilling to give. And
He gave him a present.
that's
It was
true.
30 hours of extreme pain and torture.
Extreme pain and torture, and then
Take it.
threw him off the building. Yeah. The next, the stinker is, and come on, who if you can defend it, I just don't know what to say. is
Sarah.
It can't rain all the time. Like, just shut your mouth. Just shut up.
Bearclaw.
Even like that awful song, like just
That song was
just
really bad.
Shut your mouth. Like, it can't rain all the time.
You said it 30
What does
times.
that even mean? It's like that saying. There's another saying that
A broken clock is right twice a day.
well, it's one of those stupid sayings like, "Oh, don't you know that airplanes take off against the wind?" Like, shut up. Like
Listen, Bearclaw, that song makes all the goth girls drop their black panties. So
I guess if it does
crotchless
that,
black
I was
panties.
well, you know what they say, it can't rain all the time. I don't know. But that was my stinker, is just that song, that saying, how it was delivered. I just can't.
Wow.
Logan, how about you?
Both of their stinkers really threw me off. Like, I wasn't expecting both of those. Very well done. For Hook, I did say T-Bird's death, but you know what? Let's go for a new one. Why don't we go for Top Dollar's death? Yeah, that was a pretty good one. I will admit, that was a pretty good way to go out. 30 hours of extensive surgery getting put right into his brain and then dropped.
I like how the gargoyle's horn sticks out of his mouth like a tongue.
And the blood comes out of the gargoyle's mouth, too. That's a cool scene.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm surprised no one said that. For a line, I do have two. I have
Victims. Aren't we all?
victims, aren't we all? I really like that line.
Yeah, that's a cool
Just so, like, just the biggest
Wait,
fuck
that's your
you.
line?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dang.
Like the biggest fuck you to like that guy who's with the knives. And then the second one is, I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook. I just loved it.
That's a great line.
It's so good.
The way it's delivered.
It's so well done. And then for stinker, I kind of have like, obviously Sarah. I don't like the kid as much.
Fuck, I'm good.
I don't know.
Like,
Logan hates kids.
Obviously, it was a good kid. It was a good actor, but like actress. But like, I just didn't have any feelings towards that kid. I was just like, God damn, man, this fucking.
And in the
kid.
graphic novel, she plays less of a part than
thank
in
God.
the movie. Yeah,
But
they make her a bigger.
I think that's
character
what
in the movie.
that's what goes into my second one. Is just like, I feel like setting up the story was a big kind of like, okay, how do we make this go as fast as humanly possible and also feel incredibly rushed when it comes to it? And I feel like that's exactly what it happened. When I was watching a review video for this, because I watched it twice, and I was like, didn't really get into it as much with that. Like, I didn't really care. But then I watched a review video and I'm like, damn, man, like they made you really just not care about any of the flashback scenes as much, because there wasn't a lot of like flashback. There were like 2 flashback scenes and they were very short.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was some of the script rewrites due to Brandon's death. They had to work around flashback scenes. And one of the things I actually really prefer in the graphic novel are the flashback scenes, are actually like full scenes of Eric and Shelley. And I think if they were able to do that in the Crow movie, it would have actually brought more of a better emotional context to everything.
There was no tension, though. I think that's like what Bearclaw was saying. Like, there was no tension with the fight between him and Top Dollar. Like, I felt more tension with him and T-Bird with that chase scene. I was more like into that than the.
It almost felt like Top Dollar was kind of like bonus boss kind of feel to it. Like, it was almost like the best part of the movie was when T-Bird.
Yeah, like, I feel like once T-Bird died, I was like, man, I feel like I'm good. Like, Top Dollar, like, because then again, like, he didn't really have anything to do with that death. Like, yes, he set it up, but like, he didn't kill her.
Yeah, like, he didn't.
He wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he didn't rape her, kill her.
Establish the outcome of what was going to happen.
And they didn't even say that until like the last couple seconds until his death. Like, that made nothing for me. So like, for that, like, that's why it's a stinkers, because like, it felt unnecessary, where I'm like, you don't mean anything to this story. And there's a lot of characters like that where it's just like, why the hell are you saying these things when it makes no impact, no deep impact on anything?
Well, we're on to our final rating.
They're gonna rate the movie. What will they rate the movie? The killer is great, the victim sucks, the survivor is in between. What was that?
Now, our final rating system is Killer, which is awesome. It's a must-watch. It has high rewatchability. Survivor is our middle tier. This one we might recommend and has some rewatchability. It was okay overall. Our last rating is Victim, and we were all the victims. This has no rewatchability, and we would not recommend. For me, The Crow is a killer. It's one of my top favorite movies of all time. Yes, it's definitely a nostalgic movie for me. I grew up with the movie. I watched it a million times. Mentally, I thought I was Eric Draven at points. Yes, I was a fucked up little kid. I love some of the cheesy dialogue. I do. I mean, it has a place in my heart. I think it is a love story. And I think it combines horror and gothic elements in it as well. I think there's some funny scenes, even though it is a story of revenge and of zombie vigilante. And I think it's cool. Like, I resonated with it too because of the rock star thing. I wanted to be a rock star myself. So like, the guitar, the look, I mean, it was cool, man. It was badass. It was badass. All right. How about you, Dan?
I kind of was in the middle before we had our discussion here. And I think both of you guys brought up some very, very good points. And I'm still giving this movie a Survivor. Me personally, not a big zombie movie fan.
Oh, wow.
It's just not my thing,
Yeah, it seems. Yeah, you have said that before in the past.
Damn,
I really haven't made us watch anything. It's gonna take me 28 days to get over that.
You shot me point blank.
You're healing up. You're healing up quite fine there. There's scenes that I absolutely enjoy about this movie, but then there's things that I find so aggravating about it.
Yeah.
I could sit and watch it. I could certainly recommend it. Like, it's just, I don't know, like, it's not my favorite movie. It's definitely not like the worst thing in the world. Like, it's not egregiously awful or bad or anything of that nature. It's okay. And I think if you love this movie, great. It has no weight or bearing on me whatsoever. I hope you like absolutely enjoy it. And if it's for you, great. It's just not for me.
Bearclaw, I'm going to look away from you.
Yep.
You're going to look away from me?
Everyone
going to
just
stare dead in your eyes with my cold, dead heart. For this one, for me, obviously, I think is a Victim. It's not that I don't find this movie. I find this movie very hard to watch. That 1 hour and 42 minutes feels like 5 hours, and that's me. And I understand that there are people that love this movie, and I would never take anything away from them on that. I think it's something that I think there's a lot of nostalgia for, but I feel like I'm coming from a place where I don't have that nostalgia. And without that nostalgia, this movie is very difficult. So that's why I put it at a Victim. But, to those who love this movie, I think that there's, I think you should love it. And, but I think you should maybe try and open your hearts to new things, such as the remake that's coming. And I think that it might be good. So...
yeah, and let us know how you feel about the remake.
Let me know how you feel about that at the padded room at outlook.com. But maybe
Bearclaw.
Maybe just try and open your hearts to something new, and maybe love will surprise you.
Maybe give Bill Skarsgård a chance.
Give Bill a chance.
Hashtag
give Bill a chance.
Yeah,
I think there's still some wonderful things that can be done with this character. But that's me, and for me, it's a Victim.
Yeah.
All right, Logan.
Felt like that was going that way from the start. I don't think there was any.
No seed of doubt.
Yeah, there was nothing in my head that was like, you know what? You might give it a Survivor. For me, this is a killer. I think it's a great movie. I've really never said anything bad about this movie compared to people.
Probably is there a mandatory punishment if you say anything bad about?
No, I actually I don't think
Logan actually saw this before, on his own.
Yeah,
I didn't even recommend it to him. So.
I was actually interested in it. I watched the remake trailer of this, and I was like, it looks interesting. So I went to go see it, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty good. I like the different takes it has. Obviously we've seen a lot of movies similar to the vigilante story, and this just pays off in a good way. It has exactly what you want: love, revenge, brutal death, and extortion. There's a lot of stuff in this movie that I really obviously am not a fan of, but like I think I get over it pretty quickly because I'm still in love with, the whole idea of this movie. It's just a very well put together movie. Not a horror movie in my mind, but still a pretty good movie.
Well, Nathan, our producer, also gave his rating on The Crow. And he said, I don't care if it is nostalgia glasses, I love this movie. It commits to its overly dark Gothic aesthetic and cheesy melodramatic dialogue, and does so without even a hint of irony. It takes itself so seriously that it loops around and becomes its own kind of camp. This movie is a killer. Also, it has one of the best soundtracks in history. I mean, 9 Inch Nails covers Joy Division. Can't go wrong with that.
True.
And we did talk about the soundtrack, which
But
I recommend. Go listen. It's on Spotify, Bearclaw.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put it on my playlist.
Now, we also asked our audience what their thoughts were on The Crow. And I do want to say thank you to everybody for commenting, because we got so many comments on this movie. And, we're all good friends, and we enjoy doing this podcast, and we enjoyed talking to each other. We could do this for hours, every week.
And we have.
Talking about horror movies. I mean, it's cool. But what means a lot to us and the most to us is connecting with our audience. And so definitely please send us your comments on movies. We love connecting with the horror community out there. We all have different opinions and we want to hear them. Let us know.
Yeah.
So let's check our Instagram, and that's at mouths.of.madness. And this is from Modern Monstrous. This is the movie that taught me about sexy, broody men who like to wear makeup and murder people for love.
Yeah, that's a theme in
or revenge.
Life.
Whatever works. That was a true statement.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single movie without that.
Here is another comment from horror_hockey_forever. Huge fan of the comic and couldn't wait to see it. Wasn't disappointed. Great soundtrack. Yeah, another soundtrack comment.
Well, I mean, when you think of all the bands on the soundtrack, can't go wrong.
This is from friend of the podcast, Living Dead Jill. And she's actually joining the Madness family. She's going to be a full-time member on Straight Jacket Talk coming up on YouTube. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jill.
Yeah. And she said, fucking grade A banger. Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Ah.
Remember Officer Albright and Sarah with the hot dogs? And
She gonna get it with the onions.
That was like
well, they make you fart, right?
So that's why I'm asking the question.
that was like a Jennifer Coolidge kind of way of saying it. I love it.
Logan, they're called glitzies, right?
Glizzies.
Glizzies.
Not glitzies. Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
Glitzies.
Glizzies. Old man.
Dude, I'm trying to be cool.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
You're not crow cool. You gotta put on some makeup.
All right. This is from, I'm just going to use the word trenchcoat_angel. I first watched it at 8 years old, ironically on Devil's Night. I was immediately hooked. I loved every second of it. Forever changed my love for comic book movies. Definitely responsible for bringing out the goth in me. The movie and the comic means so much to me. I am excited to actually see it on the big screen for the first time very soon. And yeah, they are re-releasing it in theaters for the 30th anniversary.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to the movies to see the 30th one, and then we're going to have to see the remake.
Yeah, I'm out for the 30th.
No,
I'll be there for the remake.
It's official.
It's mandatory.
It's official Mouths of Madness business.
Yeah, you gotta be there.
I don't want to watch this movie anymore.
This is...
I'll make you watch it.
This is from Clampkey5678. I love this movie and the soundtrack. Both were on high rotation throughout my teenage years and still are. I think it is a beautiful love story. I didn't enjoy the other movies or series as much. They were okay to varying degrees, but I do enjoy the comic and am excited for the new version. I think Bill Skarsgård is perfect for the role and in my opinion doesn't take anything doesn't take away anything from previous iterations.
Well, we'll find out.
They're giving Bill a chance.
Yeah,
They're giving Bill a chance. I like it.
Hashtag give Bill a chance. Let's get it started.
This is from DVD Volt. I revisited it recently, and it was a wonderful reminder of how much of a star Brandon Lee might have been, how great Ernie Hudson always has been, how awesome and intimidating Michael Wilcott's villains always were, and how much I love Alex Proyas' visual world building.
Speaking of which, Alex Proyas, didn't he direct one of your favorite movies, Bearclaw, The Dark City?
Oh, if he did, that'd be very interesting. But The Dark City is a fantastic movie.
I know.
Oh, yeah, no. The Dark City is,
I'm good.
Is amazing. I mean, The Dark City is the Matrix before the Matrix. It's got Kiefer Sutherland in it.
Yeah, it is.
What?
Alex Proyas.
Oh, well, I mean, that's awesome. And he must have really changed it up for that movie.
Dang. This is from Did You Get That on Film, friends of the podcast. When considering its track record and legacy, it is clear to understand the appeal of the movie and what it meant to so many. A simple film where the doomed gets their comeuppance. On brand for those who feel a disconnect from the world that surrounds them. The haunting cinematography, seamless score, and kick-ass soundtrack make it a repeat view. At the core, however, it is the performance of Brandon Lee and the tragedy that looms over. Somewhere on some timeline, we hope Brandon is the actual crow we are watching on screen. Not Eric Draven, but the bird soaring, still watching over the world his presence impacted real and real. And actually, you know what? Did You Get That on Film kind of makes the eerie comparison that I've seen too, where like this film has very real life qualities of what happened with Brandon too in the actual movie. So all right, we have one here from Lindsay _not _Lohan. My thoughts are it didn't need a remake. It was perfect the way it is. Have some respect on Brandon Lee's name. They should have left the movie alone. It's iconic. And they also have another comment. I might watch the remake only because I love Bill Skarsgård, but I just absolutely don't understand why they needed to make another one. The original was great. They should have left it alone. Brandon Lee is an icon.
I do love how that's also how people are in real life, where they're like, oh, I hate remakes, but I'm also going to watch it because, like, you know, I love it.
Well, I think, too, you know, even for people like myself, too, who love the original, love Brandon Lee's work as Eric Draven and think he should be Eric Draven and the only Eric Draven, you know, I'm still going to go see this movie because I am hopeful and I'm optimistically hopeful that this movie will be good because I do think it will bring an audience to the original Crow. And I want the actors and everything to be, you know, rewarded for their work, you know, because they obviously put time and effort into making this good, you know, so I'm gonna give it a chance.
Yeah.
But let us know what you think at our Instagram at mouths.of.madness or write to us at thepaddedroom@outlook.com. Let us know, are you excited for the remake? What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
I do want to end before we wrap things up. There is this great interview with Brandon Lee on set during the movie The Crow. It's on YouTube. I'm going to try to link it to our Instagram account, but he's in character as Eric Draven. And
he gives the interview out of the world as Eric
Draven.
Like a method actor?
Yeah, so do you remember, like, everybody talks about Heath Ledger's Joker, right?
Okay.
And that was one of the best performances we've seen in film, in my opinion.
Sure.
You know, they had talked about how he was like in character, you know, like when you talk to Heath Ledger, he was like the Joker. If you watch this interview, and I'm going to try to link it to our Instagram account, it's like he's in that mode. And it's cool. It's cool to watch, man, because I do think, you know, he was a charismatic actor who, you know, this could have been his stepping stone towards a great career. So it is sad in a way, you know, and it makes it tough to rewatch. But we have this great movie that was made and kind of honors his legacy. So
yeah,
I think that's awesome. That does it for our review on The Crow. We will be back soon with another episode, and it's going to be Bearclaw's pick, Event Horizon. Ooh. Looking forward to it, Bearclaw. But until then, back to the padded room with you.
Tell the rest of them that death is coming for them tonight. Tell them Eric Draven sends his
When we hang out anywhere, like if we're at the movies, wherever, fire it up. People would be like, what the hell is wrong with these people?
Well, what the hell is wrong with those people? We'll get into it in this podcast.
Fucking nuclear heat. Doing that shit.
We're Eddie Guerrero at this point.